Hey everyone, Sari here, and welcome to the highlights from this week of Dark Season defense matches. I've mostly been skipping over the Dark Season replays lately since I hadn't really settled on one that got good results, but this one ended up doing pretty well during the CYL bonus week. I decided to try out the Needle Layer terrain for this. It does a good job of making life annoying for any teams relying on cavalry or infantry units, and also doesn't get in the way of the defense thanks to Catria. The defenders are actually fairly similar to the last Dark Season team I showcased, using Catria to give the team a significant edge in firepower while having Idun keep them safe from ranged attackers. The starting positions also give each of the mages access to every tile in the team's starting threat range, making it a bit riskier to try to bait them. Eldigan, as usual, is fairly isolation-proof in light weeks and offers the team a reliable dancer, while Medius keeps Idun safe from bolt towers and uses Canto control to make hit-and-run approaches a bit harder to pull off. And also making me feel very silly for forgetting to give him a seal for the last few weeks. Bremen's Hardy Bearing is an important part of the team, especially during the CYL bonus week. Having the ability to punch through vantage effects with a Catria-powered triangle attack on top does a lot to shut down a potentially easy sweep. Garneff's another returning face in the team. His ability to sweep any non-mage opponent opens up a lot of safe combat opportunities, and the third turn flash effect catches people off guard more than it should. Pulse Smoke makes him a lot riskier to try and dwell out with hardy fighter users, helping his team to break through a potential Hector wall. Byleth's the new member of the squad. She's a dangerous threat in Dark Seasons thanks to lack of Elamine. Fine Pulse makes it very difficult to knock her out on the counterattack, and the damage it offers, along with her built-in no follow-up, lets her punch through some extremely sturdy walls. The team did a lot better than I expected. While it wasn't a perfect week, they only took 2 clean losses out of the 12 matches, and thanks to a bit of luck with timing, neither of those ended up counting. So let's get to the first match. This match was a fun one to see early in the week. We brought along a safe ball, including a near-save Mur and a far-save Nagi. Nagi is a unit that I think will become really relevant when she gets her refine in the coming months. She's very bulky, and her double triangle advantage against colorless and blue, along with her ability to basically ignore area of effect attacks, make her a pretty unique armor unit. And especially when she's being backed up by a flame for more damage reduction, and a Halloween Noe for the double rain and extra distant guard, she becomes very difficult to actually break through for really any ranged attackers. They take a couple of turns here just to clean up the structures and make sure they have all of their Aether pots before they move in and set up their safe ball to start tanking the world. Unfortunately, they may have forgotten about the turn timer, and engaging on turn 3 means that Nagi never gets a chance to counterattack at all. The Iceberg wouldn't have really been able to threaten Byleth here, who doesn't get to do much outside of that initial damage. But she also can't counterattack Bremen when they move in to attack, and that 16 damage does add up and ends up dropping her below 50%, which disables Special Fighter and lets Garneff move in to close her out.
I am undying.
I'm sorry.
And with Nagi out of the way, the rest of the team is pretty easy pickings for Byleth, who moves in to quad down Mur.
Stay where you are.
And knock out the second half of their safe ball. We don't get anything else here, but losing those two is enough for them to surrender the match and move on. This match was the first clean loss of the week, featuring a bonus week Brave Seliph, headlining a Gale Force squad. It's actually a lot of fun to see another person using an Ash Valoria team, since I do think they make a very powerful Gale Force duo. The 2 tempo effects that they get from transforming, and Valoria setting them both to a 2-charge Gale Force, makes it extremely easy for them to just carve their way through enemy teams. Especially with Byleth, who can crack open the enemy front line if it's just a little bit too difficult for either of them to get through on their own. Byleth also ends up being a very good way to set up a Wings of Mercy chain, thanks to his built-in miracle effect. And with Valentia, Ashe, and Azura all using Wings of Mercy, Peony too, it's pretty easy for them to just chain their way in and clean up an enemy team. They spend a few turns just clearing things out and getting ready for their approach, and once they do, they just have Byleth go in and test a trap, and then dance him, and back right on out. The limited threat range that this team has is probably one of its biggest weaknesses, since it does let you actually take your time and test traps like this before going in. And once they have access to Idune, they just send Byleth in to take her down, and get him easily into a Wings of Mercy range, before moving the rest of the team in. Dancing him means that he can go in and get his actual heal force, and since they've already tested the real heavy trap, they don't have to worry about Ashe stepping on the fake one. And Medius helpfully gets her into Wings of Mercy range too, before getting knocked out. And from there, Valentia can move in and take down Garnef. A bit closer than I might have liked, thanks to his damage reduction against non-mages, but he still has enough to punch through him. And, well, Catry is a very easy one-shot for Byleth. And then they can just move everybody in to block the remaining ranged units and stop anything from happening this turn. And at that point, it's very easy for them to close out the match. Ashe can take the first knockout, get danced, go in and take down Eldigan, before letting Valentia close out the match. This match was a fun one to see. It's not every day that you run into a maxed out Scion Larcy like this. She's really impressive, and backing her up with this Infantry Null follow-up and Infantry Hexblade carrying Gatekeeper means that she can carve her way through basically anything she fights in melee. Having Ascended Furum on the team means that Gatekeeper himself doesn't really need to worry about being attacked even if he's standing right next to Larcy. And Gatekeeper's a really good answer to Catria Balls in Light Weeks. Shutting down the warp effect of Catria means that most of the Catria setups that count on that warp effect to have their threat ranges overlap or get units moving forward don't work anymore, and shut down a lot of the potential triangle attacks they can pull off. They take a couple of turns here just clearing out structures and moving slowly into position. And while they do engage on the third turn here, Furum's built-in Null-C Disrupt means she doesn't have to worry too much about Garnef shutting her down. Unfortunately for Furum, she's not using Deflect Magic, which means that Garnef can wipe her out pretty easily with the triangle attack second hit. The rest of the team doesn't catch up, thanks to Gatekeeper shutting down the warp effects, and they go ahead and take a revenge knockout on Idune here with Larcy.
You won't escape.
But they end up conceding the match and moving on here. This match was another fun one to see. It's another safe ball, this time using a Duo Thor as their point unit. Thor's a really good option as a support in Light Weeks, being able to offer a breath effect to every ally in range, including dragons, makes her a bit more flexible than someone like Lucina, and the exposure debuff she applies to all or most of the enemy team makes it a lot easier for her allies to secure one-shots, which is especially important for a near-save unit like Pirate Surtur, who only really wants to take one hit that he can blunt by 75% before knocking someone out in one shot with a bonfire. It also does a lot of work for Fjorm, making it harder to shut her down with a guard effect, and also helping her to secure a one-shot on the counterattack. Deflect magic is probably her best choice for seals and light weeks too, since it makes it a lot harder for anyone to actually break through her using mages. We take a few turns here just clearing out structures and moving in, before having Air go in and break Idun's Sacred Cowl. And then attacking her and finishing her off with Thor. I think they were pretty confident that they'd be able to tank things up from here, since it's a bit trickier for the triangle attacks to actually get in range. Unfortunately, Byleth still has access to triangle attacks and the front line at the same time, and while Fjorm can survive this first round of combat, she can't one-shot Byleth thanks to Divine Pulse, and Byleth is more than fast enough to quad her. The guard effect doesn't stop her from recharging Divine Pulse after that combat, which means she can just go in and take down Thor as well. Even if Thor does get to counterattack. And there, with Fjorm out of the way, it's pretty easy pickings for Bremland to come in and take down Mila.
My duty remains.
Before Garnev moves over and takes out Asker.
Violence begets nothing.
Medias can't quite make it in range, but with 4 of their units knocked out, it's enough for them to surrender and move on. This match was the second clean loss of the week, and also the last match of the week. It's always unfortunate to see a loss right at the end of the week, but this was a very impressive team featuring a maxed out Summer Edelgard, Ascended Florina, and Ninja Lyn. It's neat to see someone else pairing Florina with Edelgard. I do think they make a really good team, and have used them like that myself quite a bit. And together with the Linja to help clean out any traps and pick off units from range if necessary, I don't see this team having problems breaking basically any defense they run into. They get things going right away here. Edelgard can ignore the Hex Trap thanks to having 72 hit points, and can pick up a couple of easy knockouts.
I wish you luck.
Before retreating back out of the threat range, thanks to a bit of help from Peony, and waiting for the next turn. The safety defense shuts down the defense's first turn here, so they don't get anything done. And then they can just flip Edelgard back to continue carving her way through the hole that they made the last turn. Bramlin's an easy knockout, and once they move Lyn forward, she can soften Idun up a little bit. Which is enough for Edelgard to move in and finish the job.
I wish you luck.
From there, they can dance Lyn and have her work on Media's health bar. She can't quite finish him off here, thanks to the damage reduction. But that's not really going to stop her when she can dance herself.
I'll study your technique.
Edelgard can move over and knock out Garnev, and then Lyn can close out Medius.
Go for it. Sit.
Bygone can attack Edelgard here, but he's not really going to threaten her. And while she can't finish him off this turn, that's kind of a good thing since it means they can pick up this Aether pot, and the second one, before closing out the match.
Oh, Lyn, you're a wonder. Prepare yourself.
This was a fun week of replays. It's always nice when the defense holds for a -0 week, and it was great to see Byleth doing so well here. I'm planning to keep the team as is over the next couple of Dark Seasons to see how it holds up outside of her bonus week, but this might be a setup I can work on refining over time. I do have a Discord server if you'd like to hang out and chat. There's a link in the description, and I've also got a Patreon link there too if you'd like to help support the channel. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video, good luck with your own matches, and I'll see you next time.